There's something heartbreaking about watching a family fall apart in real time. One minute you believe in the dream they're selling, unity, love, commitment, and the next you're witnessing betrayal, broken trust, and the quiet creeping grip of control. It's like a slow unraveling that no one wanted to admit was happening, even though all the warning signs were right there, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes, the words left unsaid, the loneliness sitting heavy at the edges of every happy family moment. Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I'm so happy you're here with me today because we need to talk about what's really going on behind the scenes of Sister Wives. Not the polished version, not the one that tries to cover the cracks with a fresh coat of paint, but the raw, uncomfortable truth that's been quietly playing out right in front of us for years. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video if you've ever found yourself yelling at the TV during an episode, because same. And definitely jump into the comments and tell me your thoughts. I read everything you guys post, and trust me, your opinions make these conversations even better. Today we're pulling back the curtain. We're talking about the small betrayals that built up over time, the shifting loyalties, the unspoken pain that finally exploded into the open, the way love can sometimes be used as a weapon instead of a promise. And the real question, did anyone ever really have a chance? Or was this family destined to break from the start? Stick with me, because it's about to get real. Looking back at the early seasons of Sister Wives, it's almost eerie how obvious the cracks were, even when everyone, including the Browns themselves, tried so hard to pretend everything was fine. On the surface, they were this big, loving family taking on the world together, showing that plural marriage could work if you had enough faith, patience, and love. But underneath that smiling, hopeful picture, you could already feel it. Something wasn't right. There were these small, uncomfortable moments that hit harder when you rewatch them now. Like when Meri would make a joke and it would land with this weird, heavy silence, or how Christine would force a bright, happy laugh, even when her eyes didn't match the sound. And then there was Cody. It didn't matter how much he claimed to treat all the wives equally. You could feel the favoritism, especially once Robyn entered the family. The way his face lit up differently around her, the way decisions suddenly seemed to revolve around what would make Robyn comfortable, even if it meant the other wives had to sacrifice yet again. Watching it back, you guys, I actually felt a little sick, because it wasn't just tension. It was the slow, steady loss of connection, the kind you don't even notice at first because it hides behind good intentions and forced smiles. But it was there. You could see Christine pulling away. You could feel Mary's loneliness filling up the room like smoke. And you could watch Janelle keeping her distance, almost like she was trying not to get burned. The little things added up, Robyn getting her own rental house, while the others scrambled for living arrangements, Cody spending more nights with her. The way discussions that were supposed to be family decisions suddenly felt more like Cody presenting a finished plan and everyone else expected to fall in line. It wasn't partnership anymore. It was control wearing a mask. At the time, though, it almost felt like, okay, maybe they can work through this. Maybe it's just growing pains. Nobody wanted to believe the foundation was already cracking, but nobody, and I mean nobody, could have imagined just how bad it would really get. And honestly, the worst part, it didn't happen all at once. It was slow, calculated, and in some ways, way more heartbreaking. Because of that, Christine's breaking point wasn't something that happened overnight. It built up over years of emotional exhaustion, of giving and watching her love go unreciprocated. There were so many moments in the show where you could see the toll it was taking on her moments, where the sadness in her eyes wasn't just hidden beneath the surface. It was drenched in every conversation, in every glance she exchanged with Cody. Take that conversation in season 16, for example, when Christine finally opens up to Cody about her feelings. She tells him, I feel like I'm the least of your priorities. And you could just see it, the years of emotional baggage in her words. The years of feeling like she was always on the back burner, even though she was trying so hard to hold everything together. Watching that moment, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of sadness for Christine. Honestly, how many times can someone be told they're not enough before they just stop trying? How many times can you say, I love you and not hear it back? How much does a person have to break before they say, I'm done? It wasn't just about the lack of affection from Cody. It was about the whole dynamic. It was the endless sacrifice, the endless energy spent trying to be seen, trying to be valued only to be constantly overshadowed by Robyn. Even in their family meetings, Christine would voice her concerns, her pain, but the conversation would quickly circle back to what Cody wanted, to what Robyn needed while Christine was left holding the pieces of her broken heart. And let's not even get into the part where Cody was hardly ever there for her. Sure, he'd tell her that he loved her in front of the cameras, but his actions completely different. It wasn't just emotional neglect, it was the rejection that cut deeper every single day. But then came that big moment, Christine finally deciding that enough was enough. When she packed her bags and left that house, it felt like something had finally snapped in her. It wasn't a dramatic, messy explosion. It was quieter, more painful. She realized that if she wanted happiness, if she wanted to feel truly loved, she needed to walk away from the situation that was draining the life out of her. She had to choose herself. And I can't help but think of all the women, all the people who have ever felt trapped in a relationship, a situation where they gave and gave, but received nothing in return. Christine chose herself in a way that so many of us can relate to. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that's not serving you, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you've invested. Christine's journey is one that mirrors so many people who eventually say, you know what, I deserve more. I deserve to be loved, to be heard, and to be respected. Meri's journey has always been a quiet, painful one. For years, she's been the silent figure in the background, always there but somehow never truly seen. The show captured Meri's loneliness in a way that made it almost palpable. Yes, the catfishing scandal definitely threw a wrench into her relationship with Cody. But even before that, Meri's pain was evident. She was a woman who had been in the marriage longer than anyone else. But for so long, you could tell she was isolated emotionally, physically, and mentally. Take a moment to think back to how often Meri would speak about feeling alone, even when surrounded by the family. There were those painful scenes where she'd sit down with Cody desperately trying to get him to understand her need for affection and attention, but instead she'd be met with apathy or a dismissive response. Watching it was heartbreaking. You could feel the years of isolation weighing her down. The quiet battle she fought every single day just to hold on to something that seemed so out of reach. Meri's emotional battle was never really about the big dramatic moments. It was about those subtle, almost unnoticed signs, the way Cody would prioritize Robyn, the way Meri would retreat into herself during family events. She stayed and stayed. But for what was it, out of duty, out of love? Or was it simply because she couldn't imagine a life outside the polygamous family she had built? The catfishing scandal only added fuel to the fire. Of course, it was an incredibly painful chapter that exposed the cracks in her relationship with Cody. But truthfully, even before that, there were deep issues. You could see it. Meri felt rejected, not just by Cody, but by the whole family. She wasn't just fighting for Cody's attention anymore. She was fighting for her own worth. The emotional toll it took on her was clear. What's even more heartbreaking is that Meri seemed to constantly second-guess this herself. She would often say things like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But there was never any real resolution, no moment where she felt secure in her place within the family. And as the years went by, it became more and more evident that Meri was emotionally detached from the situation, not by choice, but because she had no other option. The silence of her battle is something I think a lot of viewers can relate to. Sometimes the most painful battles are the ones we fight alone, the ones we don't have the energy to voice anymore. And yet Meri stayed. But here's the thing. Meri and Christine made two completely different choices. While Christine walked away to reclaim her happiness, Meri stayed enduring the quiet pain. What made Meri stay when everything seemed so broken? And could it be that she's now finally at a crossroads where she's faced with the same decision Christine made from the very start? Robyn's role in the family has been one of both love and controversy. It's hard to ignore how much her presence changed the dynamics of the entire sister wives family. Cody's relationship with her became the focal point of much of the drama. As time went on, Robyn seemed to slowly become Cody's favorite. And honestly, that favoritism was hard to miss. Take, for example, the early seasons. When Robyn first entered the family, it wasn't just the fact that she was new that caused tension, it was the way she was treated differently. Cody's affection for Robyn was out in the open. He was more attentive, more affectionate, and often it seemed more invested in their marriage than with any of the other wives. He would spend hours talking with Robyn, and she was consistently portrayed as the one who received the most attention from Cody. Yes, but also from the family. And let's not forget the infamous moments where Robyn got special treatment during family events. Whether it was her kids being treated with more care or her having one-on-one conversations with Cody, you could feel the tension growing between her and the other wives. It wasn't that Robyn was doing anything wrong, it was how things were presented. When you're watching the show, you can't help but feel like Robyn was given a different set of rules to play by, and it only deepened the divide within the family. You guys' love shouldn't feel like a competition, but that's exactly what it turned into. As time went on, it was clear that the other wives felt left behind or overlooked. Christine, Meri, and Janelle began to struggle with their own relationships with Cody, and much of their frustration seemed to stem from this very issue. How could they compete with Robyn, who seemed to have Cody's full attention? It wasn't just about the relationship dynamics. The betrayal she felt after the catfishing scandal, combined with years of isolation, has left her questioning what's truly left in their marriage. You can see it on her face during her conversations with Cody. The hurt is palpable. She's no longer fighting for a place in his heart. She's simply surviving, and it's a sad reality to witness. Then there's Janelle. She seems to be walking that fine line of trying to keep the peace while also struggling to find her own voice in all this chaos. Cody's inability to show emotional availability for her has left her feeling distant, unsure of what her future holds in this marriage. And while she hasn't made any dramatic moves like Christine, there's a feeling of quiet resignation. Now, Robyn, who once seemed to be Cody's emotional anchor, is now in a precarious position. She still has Cody's attention, but as the family crumbles, it's hard to ignore the pressure that comes with being the favorite. How much can one person carry before the weight of the family's unraveling starts to feel unbearable? The bonds that once held this family together have shattered beyond repair. The distance between Cody and his wives is so painfully obvious now that it's hard to deny. The family dynamic has changed forever. You can see the shifting loyalties, the betrayals, the hurt, and the desire to just move on. In the end, this isn't just a story of polygamy or love, it's a story about control. So, was it ever really about family, or was it always about control? At this point, it's hard to say. Watching these relationships fall apart leaves us questioning whether there was ever a genuine sense of unity or if it was all about keeping the narrative intact, maintaining control over the narrative of the family dynamic. The love they once had seems to have been replaced with power struggles, and in the end, that may be the most heartbreaking part of all. As we wrap up this emotional journey, it's impossible not to feel a bit heartbroken for these women. Christine, Meri, Janelle, and even Robyn, their struggles, their heartache, their search for love and happiness. It's all laid bare for us to witness, and it's not easy to watch. These are real people with real emotions, and despite the years of tension, broken promises, and shifting allegiances, it's clear that they all deserve more. Christine's decision to leave. Cody was undoubtedly the hardest choice she's ever made, but in doing so, she found something most of us never expected: freedom. It wasn't just a physical escape, it was an emotional one, too. She got the chance to reclaim her life and happiness, something that had been denied to her for so long. And as much as I wish it hadn't come to this, I have to say I'm proud of her. But let me know, were you rooting for Christine all along? Was it difficult to see her walk away from a family that was supposed to be her everything? The future for all of them is uncertain, but there's still hope. I honestly believe that while the past is full of pain, the future holds new possibilities. Whether it's healing, growth, or finding a new sense of self, that's what matters the most. In the end, I just want to say thank you all for watching and for sticking with me through all the twists and turns. If you want more real, honest commentary on Sister Wives and all the drama, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. Trust me, there's plenty more to come. Stay tuned, and as always, thank you for being a part of